G'day guys, Simon Chapman here from speedcafe.com, and today on KTM Summer Grill I have the pleasure of having Broc Feeney with me from Triple Eight, and today we're going to have a quick chat about the up-and-comers in Supercars, the rising stars of the championship and who to look out for in years to come. And obviously, Broc, we've got you here today because obviously big news in recent months that you're joining Triple Eight, Bull Ampol Racing, alongside Shane van Gisbergen. Your first year in the category in 2022, you must be super excited.
I certainly am now, but first of all, thanks for having me on. Pretty good company that I've lined up with. So yeah, it is very exciting for me. And I think a lot of people maybe thought I was lying when I said I wasn't thinking about next year before Bathurst, and that was full truth. I hadn't really thought about it, but here we are. We're only a few days out from Christmas, but now that's all my mind's thinking about is 2022. So I'm pretty keen for the 2021 to tick over, and yeah, looking forward to next year.
In basically the first episode, we spoke to Shane and he sort of said, when you join Triple Eight, you're going to have all the tools basically at your disposal to do as good a job as possible.
Yeah.
In terms of your expectations for 2022 and your debut season, what are you sort of predicting? Because, we've had lots of guys come through the ranks in their first season, and, it's pretty rare that guys finish in the top 10, with the exception of guys like Will and Brody lately. But for you, you're coming into the championship winning team. So what do you expect of yourself?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't put a number on it. I'm not going, I want to finish here or higher for the season, but I don't want to compare myself to the other guys. And I think I've probably gone through the process a lot quicker than what everyone else has. I've only done, I think, 8 races in Super 2, where a lot of those rookies had done 4 or 5 seasons. Yeah. So I think for me, it's a little bit different, and I'm going into the number 1 team as well. So there's certainly going to be a bit of pressure on me, but it's not like, okay, I want to do this. But to see Will and Brody doing so well this year, Will winning races, it gives me a lot of confidence. And at the end of the day, my whole goal is to win races and win championships. I haven't put a timeline on that yet. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to stop till I get there. And people might think I'm crazy, but I want to go out and challenge for wins next year and podiums and consistently try and be in that top 10. And I think that'd be a good season for me. For sure.
Obviously, Jamie's left the team in a pretty good place, him finishing second in the championship in 2021. Shane obviously winning the championship. They've put the team right up to the pointy end of pit lane as the team's champions. Is there any sort of added pressure to sort of maintain the status quo, or is there sort of maybe a little bit of an acceptance that maybe it will take you a little bit of time to get up to speed?
I think everyone in the team agrees that it's definitely going to take me time, and I certainly agree with that as well. I'm not going out thinking I'm going to set the world on fire from the first race, but at the end of the day, Shane van Gisbergen's still my teammate. He absolutely smashed everyone this year. So to have someone there, he's probably going to take a little bit of pressure off me, because I'm not going out there thinking if we don't finish 1-2, it's at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So as you said before, I've got all the tools there. The team know it's going to take a little bit of time for me, and next year's certainly a learning year. But yeah, I don't really know how to put it. There's certainly going to be a lot of pressure, and a lot more than what there probably has been. But I think even this year there was quite a lot of pressure on me with what was at stake, the colours on my car, the number on my car, and even at Bathurst, doing double duties as well. And I'd like to hope that I probably proved a couple of people wrong in that process. So I'm just looking forward to getting out there and do what I do. I don't think about any of that stuff. I go out and try and go as hard as I can in the races, and at the end of the season, we'll see how we ended up.
For sure. You touched on it a little bit earlier, your Super 2 campaigns, and by and large, both of them have been far from normal, right? Both of them have been impacted by COVID-19, shortened one way, shape or another. Does that sort of change anything at all as far as going into next year? You haven't really had a normal season. It feels like maybe 2022, it's going to be your first opportunity in a long time to have something that even closer resembles what you were doing back in Super 3.
Yeah, no, and certainly for sure. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to next year, is hopefully a normal season. And I think by probably May, I would have probably done more than what I had in the past 2 years in a supercar. So my supercar experience isn't too much. I did that year in Super 3, so I did 5 rounds in that. In 2020, I did 3 rounds in Super 2 and then 5 rounds this year. So still pretty fresh to the scene, and that's what I'm most excited about. I'm going to be racing every couple of weeks against the best guys in Australia, and that's very exciting for me, and it's what I've dreamed of, to be racing all the time, traveling around the country with the best guys in Australia.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple of other cool names obviously coming up through the ranks at the moment. Another young guy who's going to be joining Supercars in 2022, and it sort of feels like a long time coming in many ways, is Thomas Randall, Castrolback Thomas Randall. It'll be interesting to see how he goes next year. Do you feel like he might exceed expectations a little bit just because he's had maybe that little bit more experience, doing the wild cards? He's got plenty of enduro experience under his belt. He's done lots of Super 2 running as well. From your point of view, as a fellow Super 2 champion, what do you sort of see from him?
He's certainly. We went completely different paths. I came out of go-karting and I set my goal on supercars, and I've had to get there as quick as I can.
Yep.
Thomas did Europe, was very successful as well. I think he won British Formula 3 over there, and then came back and did a few years in Super 2 and ended up winning the championship. But for me, I raced him last year, which was pretty cool. Myself, I raced Brody, Will, and Tom as well. So we'll all be in main game next year. But I suppose he's had a lot more experience than I have. And as I sort of said before, I think that's what separates me from most of the guys. And I know, looking back from the start of the year, how much I've improved, not only on track, but off track and as a person in general. Feels a bit weird saying that, but looking back on it, it's been a massive year. And I think I'm just going to keep learning at a rapid rate because I'm so young and I've had probably a lot less experience compared to some guys. And I'm very excited to see how we both go. We're both the rookies, so I suppose we'll look back at the end of the year and see who the rookie champion is.
You've worked closely with guys like Brody Kostecki before, Will Brown to an extent as well here at Norwell. Those guys you sort of touched on earlier before having a really good debut season with Erebus Motorsport. Does what they've been able to do in their first season give you a bit of encouragement and go, okay, Will Brown's a winner in his first season. Brody Kostecki got pretty close. I'm going to the champion team Triple Eight. There is absolutely no reason why I can't be getting results like they did.
Oh, 100%, mate. Like, watching Sydney was pretty hard for me, to be honest, because I was sitting on the sidelines watching all these races happen. But it's a very proud moment, as a young kid, to see another young kid doing so well. So I raced Brody and Will last year, and it gives me a lot of confidence because I was running with those guys. It was a very weird season for me. It wasn't my best performances, but I had shines of some pretty good pace in that, and I was matching or sometimes, if not better than those guys. So I'm looking forward to it, jumping in the big team next year. So 100%, that's got to be the goal. Try and win a race, try and get a podium, and we'll wait and see.
For sure. Super 2 is an interesting sort of pool of talent at the moment. And one name that was sort of spoken about as maybe stepping up to Supercars next year is Matt Payne. Obviously, he's going to be doing Super 2, his first full season of Super 2 in 2022. And maybe we'll make the step up to Supercars in 2023. Does he, given all the hype around him and sort of the, I guess expectation that he could maybe step up to Supercars, does that sort of put a bit of pressure on him to go out there in 2022 and win the title?
Maybe, I don't know if you'd say put a lot of pressure on him next year. I think maybe not over-pressured him this year, but there was a lot of expectation, and maybe they should have held back on what they were going to say before he went out and did a Super 2 race.
Yep.
And I got no doubt the kid's going to run up the front next year in the Super 2 Championship and definitely battle probably for the championship at the end of the day. But I think it was a pretty big ask to do 2 rounds of Super 2 and try and step up to the main game. And it's a perfect opportunity for him to do a full season next year. And there's no doubt he'll be in Supercars in a few years to come. I got no doubt about that. But maybe I just think next year is going to be perfect for him. I think you need to do a year of Super 2, and it's proved it. Every young kid that's sort of gone up in the last few years have been through the Super 2 ranks, and I'm really excited about Super 2 next year.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got no idea who's going to win the championship. There's a lot of movement going on as well, so stepping up, it's going to be pretty cool to see who steps up next year and takes that leap and wins the championship.
Yeah, well, Triple Eight's got a pretty solid lineup for next year as well, so it'll be interesting to see how those boys go.
It certainly is, and really good mates with Declan. Gotten to know Cam a little bit over probably this last 12 months, and even going back to when I did 86s. So it's a great lineup, some new people in the team, and there's a lot of speculation about what's going on in the rest of the Super 2 paddock, which I'm sure we'll find out about in the next month or so. But I'm excited. There's a lot of young kids in there, and I couldn't tell you who's going to win the championship next year.
Exactly right. Like Cameron Hill's a guy who's come straight out of Porsche Career Cup and done a lot of really good things there. And you'd probably say going into a Triple Eight sort of setup, he should be right up the front. So I'm really interested to see how he goes. I think the other ones who will be fascinating, assuming that they're on the grid. There's some chat around Jaden Ojeda and potentially having some ties with Walkinshaw and Andretti United, having a setup there. There's Zach Best, assuming that he's on the grid next year. I think he will do quite well. He seems to be on an upward trajectory. And then there's a guy like Matt McLean, who was the Mike Cable Young Gun Award winner this year, who basically come straight out of karting and jumped into a supercar. And he's been pretty respectable.
Yeah, he has. And to win that rookie championship this year, he was sort of going back and forth with Declan for the whole year. But like the three guys that you just mentioned, there's no doubt they'll be having a shot next year. And me, Jaden and Zach go a fair way back to our Super 3 days. And even Matt did a few rounds in that Super 3 championship that year. So it's pretty cool to see us all sort of move up at the same time together into Super 2. But I think Jaden and Zach are going to be the ones that you put your arm up for and say they're probably the two favourites going into next year. But as you said, you got Matt McLean, you got Matt Payne.
Yep.
Nash I think the plan is to move him up to Super 2 next year. And man, like it's hard to pick who's going to be the guys. But Jaden and Zach did it all this year. They did a pretty damn good job. So I'm looking forward to it being a puncher on the side this year.
Well, I think if anything, all it does is it makes the 2023 Supercars driver market even more crazy for Supercars, because there'll be so many young guys who are looking to make the step up in the next year or so. So I'm really fascinated to see how this season plays out with young guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you go alongside Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm sure a lot of people are absolutely fascinated by the season ahead. There's a lot of super competitive young guys in there. So yeah, we're super excited for the 2022 Repco Supercars Championship. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I can't wait. It's going to be pretty exciting, isn't it?
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, that concludes another episode of KTM Summer Grill. Thanks for coming on board.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Stay tuned for more at speedcafe.com. As part of this year's KTM Summer Grill, each week KTM is giving away the perfect summer beach pack, which includes an umbrella, cap, gym bag and key holder. To enter the draw, head to speedcafe.com or hit the link in the description below.